important voice to get. First up, post pre-open, Pashupati Advani, founder at Global Foray, joins us right now on the show. Pashupati, good morning. Thanks for joining in. What does your experience tell you? The globe is not quite certain here, but there is a confluence of positive news flow ahead of a festive season, which will be aided by a low base. Markets love to see YOY numbers. Do you think it's a good time to buy?
Well, I've been kind of skittish over the last few months, and I actually think that we can be in whatever cloud we want to be. It's the globe that's going to shake us, and the globe is still shuddering, according to me. One day you have the market slam because of some news. Maybe yesterday it was, day before it was Chinese yuan, then it settled. Then the markets move back up. So yes, the markets do want to go up, but then there's a lot of bad news that keeps hitting it. And I think that we are seeing, as you said, you just mentioned about auto companies going down, shutting down in August. That used to be Europe 15 years ago. So maybe that's, they used to shut all the plants down in August. So maybe that's a trend. But that takes away 1/12 of the revenue. So when you really think about it, it's going to obviously affect margins. It's going to affect, there's obviously going to be no salary raises in that space. If you've still got your job, you're lucky. So I think that, that's an effect that we're all going to have to live through and tighten the belts. And but again, there are obviously jewels in the market to be found, and they will survive. But it's going to take a lot of toughness to be able to make it through through these tough times.
You spoke about the global jitters, but the fall that we've seen has been purely domestic driven. I mean, post the budget, the kind of move that we've seen on the downside has been our own creation of sorts. So in light of that, if there is anything that comes up in the form of the finance minister backing or some reversals, if at all, that could spur some interest back from the FPIs, that could charge up the markets? Yeah,
obviously. I mean, somebody obviously feels that yesterday's drive was basically an expectation that the finance ministry was going to do something. And I think there was a huge expectation that Prime Minister would say something about it yesterday. But he kept the focus on J&K and Article 370 in his speech. But I think that they are working on a way to try and figure this problem out, because I think this is a sort of unintended fallout of the rules. And I think the idea was not to classify every FPI and ask them to pay tax. But one of the things that the government slipped in last budget, not in this budget, is that you take the January 31st, 2018 price, any uptick in the market from that, and if you shut your eyes and the market goes to 50,000 Sensex and 15,000 Nifty, 10% of that gain is going to go to the government. So it's in time that's going to be a great revenue spinner. I think as time goes down, and that's going to come from FPIs too. It's not going to come from. It's going to be across the board. So I think that that's the bigger challenge. You slip something in, and then for the next 2 years, nobody's actually, the market's in a lot of stocks below those prices. But as I said, we are hoping to go up. I think the long-term view on India is still positive. It's just the intermediate term is like we've got problems in execution, but we've got 1.3 billion people. So we're going to have problems.
So you spoke about there being a few jewels which are still...
well, I mean, classic examples would be, we've got water shortage. Anything that's a game changer in that space is going to be great. We've got power shortage. Anything that's going to improve power generation or power saving, battery technology. Those are all companies, that are around. Some of them are small. Some of them will get big. Some of them will be foreign companies listing. Those are the ones that are going to perform, and I think that they're going to be part of our markets too. The NBFC space, which was a wonderful space considered about a few months ago, today is getting kicked from all sides, and nobody can see the light at the end of the tunnel yet. They're seeing it, but they're seeing it 2-3 years out, and markets are too fickle. They can't wait that long.
So are you buying the distressed NBFCs, or are you buying the good quality ones?
No, I'm actually looking for, as I said, people who are helping in water, people who are helping in,
not NBFCs.
No, I think the NBFCs...
But water infra, I mean, it's a story that's trying to do its best for a long time now, Pashupati. I mean, Viatec, Vabag, for example, out there, but just not quite getting that favor.
It's not the kind of stock that can attract a lot of money, but for a smaller investor, it's fine, right? I mean, you have the ability to be able to buy, 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs worth of a stock and be able to perform, because this company will get bigger. I mean, these companies, I mean, you mentioned one, but I mean, these types of companies with decent management will get bigger, and then they'll get the good multiples. So I think, you have to be patient. But what I am seeing in distressing trend is that, SIPs are coming down. A lot of people have stopped paying. Jobs, 200,000 jobs lost in the auto sector. That's not cool at all. And I think that that's going to have a knock-on effect, which is we're yet to see. So, you're talking about festive season. Let's see how festive the festive season is, given that gold is at 38,000.
Oh, so it's already festive then.
You can't buy it.
You can't buy. The traditional Indian buying at Dussehra and Diwali.
So maybe people will buy stocks. You don't buy real estate. You can't buy gold because it's so expensive. Stocks are cheap.
Yeah, maybe.
The YY numbers will look good. Go out and buy stocks.
So why don't you produce 10 golden stocks to be bought at Diwali?
Let's get started, Pashupati. You've given us one. Give us 9 more.
So we'll come just before Diwali. And give you a
I just
shopping
wanted
list.
to,
that would be nice.
I want to bring you back in on, you spoke about the auto sector, and now with the government's push on EV, not on the pure play OEMs, but I'm talking about the ancillaries, that they will ultimately, even if there is a big EV push, they will have a big role to play to even supply to.
Well, it depends on the ancillary, right? Because I remember seeing a chart a few weeks ago which said that certain ancillaries are required for EVs also, and certain are not. So the ones that are not, and so spark plugs are not required for EVs, for example. So Bosch is also shutting down for August. So, those are the challenges. So I think that as we do shift over, the other big challenge that I see is that the leaders in EV globally is China. And that means that the technology will probably take a little longer than it needs to get to India. So let's see what happens, because, the whole world is distrusting China. But again, in EVs, they're ahead of the world. So I think that that's the other thing. But on the intelligence side and the software side, they're already doing some pilot tests in Brooklyn in New York. There's an office park, which is about 300 acres. So they've got fully autonomous transport. People are just getting into it. So I think it might become a way of life.
So one or two of those stocks, and Pashupati, wondering what's your thought? One, for example, if you looked at Page and the kind of fall that we've seen out there, if you tracked it or if you looked at that stock ever, what do you do there?
No, I think, Page, I was in and out a long time ago and missed it. So, it's very difficult to come in once it crossed 5 digits, but it's now at 17,000. This volume growth is been challenging, but the reality is that the company is still selling a lot. And, now they have to look backwards and start doing backward integration to save cost if they're not going to get volume growth. They were talking about setting up individual retail stores in a big way, but I think that's cooled off because retail is going, is changing. So they are moving with the times. It'll take them a little time to do it, but they are still the market leader by far. So I think that's good.
What have you made of the earnings so far?
They've been tough. They've been lower than expected. I think that people are going to have difficulty hitting expectations because there are these hidden. The real growth seems to not be there. I mean, we're still reading the 6 and 7% number, but I think reality says it's probably lower. And who knows how low it is. I hope it's not negative, but I think it's definitely more like 3-4 rather than 6-7, which is what's still being quoted.
Okay. Pashupati Hirani, on that note, thank you so much. It was nice having you today just when the markets are looking like taking a bit of a revival. Important to have your thoughts. And we'll hold him to his promise of giving us a shopping list around Diwali for some jewels.
Yeah,
really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot.
That's the view from Pashupati Advani.